This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome on into the Yanks Go Yard podcast. The Yankees are live in Baltimore right now, and we are live on the show. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Interesting series so far. I was told the Orioles offense was incredible. So far, they look a little bit like the Yankees offense, who Yankee fans think is bad, but actually is kind of good based on the rankings. And Luis Gil beat Corbin Burnes for the Yankees' only win in this series. So far, it's been deeply odd, but it's played out pretty much exactly like you would expect for a 4-game set to start off what looks like it might be a rivalry that determines the AL East this season and potentially into the future if the Yankees are able to continue to develop their players. Understand if you're skeptical, and retain players like Juan Soto, who's already getting a reputation from Baltimoreans as a bit of a whiny baby and just sent a cop out of center field for having a flashing, glaring wristwatch.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at there.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's hard to love it. It's really, I don't really have an opinion on it, but definitely not like, yeah, make that cop go in the corner. Let's go. Like, it's not pro that. Yanks dropped 2 of the first 3 and are playing the 4th right now. Carlos Rodon, not to date the podcast, but of course that's where we're at. We can talk about what has happened, and obviously we'll talk about what is happening as the game goes along. We'll talk about moments we were angriest, happiest, etc., and surprised leading into this finale, as well as I think Thomas will probably go on a rant about fans and their beloved wall and the way they've been treating this series, which otherwise is somewhat of a meaningless exercise in the grand scheme of things. Good for the Yankees after establishing offensive rhythm with Alex Verdugo in the cleanup spot to immediately lose him prior to game 1 of this series on the paternity list. And then they go ahead and don't score many runs at all in the first 3 games, but do sneak out a win in probably the one they were least likely to win if you checked out the pitching matchups before the series began. Could have been worse. Averted the 4-game sweep. We'll see where this one goes, but could be more for, honestly, I get too much. The New York Knicks broke my brain so much this week that the Yankees suddenly feel like even though this is my literal job and something that's like going on, you know, they're playing important games and we have to podcast about them. I'm still like, this is like watching, binge watching something in the background while you wait for the Knicks to ruin your life again in game 6, potentially game 7. But had to get one, did get one, now trying to battle it out in the 4th game. Thomas Carinante to break it all down. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. How's everybody doing? Ryan Mountcastle home run tie game. It's what happens. And now Anthony Santander gets hit by a pitch, and he'll be on first base. So Carlos Rodon was cruising up until this last slider. Very nice stuff. DraftKings is here, though. In case you want to place a bet, folks, they're offering a fantastic sign-up bonus for new users. New customers can place a $5 bet on any sport to instantly claim $200 in bonus bets. And all you got to do is sign up with the code Yanks Go Yard. Name of the podcast, name of the website. You know who we are. On top of the $200 in bonus bets, new users will also receive 1 no-sweat single-game parlay every single day when you sign up using this code. The best part is that you get both of these rewards, even if that first bet loses. So please use that code Yanks Go Yard. You're helping us out. You're getting yourself a free bonus. You're having a good time. And you're maximizing those first bets, which is what this is all about when you're getting these great perks from DraftKings. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 and older and physically present, also legally present, I guess, in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. Yeah, I know the offense is ranking still fine, but I'm going to go ahead and be the baby and say that it's all inflated from the Brewers series when they were facing minor league pitching, which again is fine. They did exactly what they needed to do against the Brewers. They proved to us that they can wake up when they're facing inferior talent, but to follow up a 36-run weekend with what they have just done over these last 3 games, including yesterday. Yesterday was awful. Just lucky Luis Gil was able to get through those 6 1/3 innings and rebound after his kind of 2 really concerning starts.
Really, Anthony Rizzo just got a ribby single like a couple of minutes ago, and nice. that breaks the 0-1 streak from those guys in the middle of the order in this series.
That makes the middle of the order now, I think it was like 2 for 40 something. if I'm not mistaken.
And then two through five, I believe, was 0 for 26.
0 for 26.
Heading into this round of AB. So Rizzo got a hit. Yeah. Nobody else did. I guess we'll give him a little 1 for 30 action.
Yeah. If you threw Volpe in there too, it was, hang on, I had it right here. What'd I do? If you threw Volpe in there, it's Volpe, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, and Torres. They were 1 for 36 heading into this game, with the lone hit being a Volpe single. And then you had a Volpe double today, which was great. You had a Rizzo single, which was great. But I mean, there's just still concern with so many other things. It's not hitting with runners in scoring position, which, okay, if that's going to happen, then fine. You need to hit more home runs. You need to cap. I feel like the issue here is, because we know this roster is talented. We're not denying that. We love the guys that we have. We love, for the most part, the roster construction as a whole. We think year over year, even since 2022, this is worlds different, and it's much better in terms of the personnel, in terms of the personalities, which I think is huge. But something tells me something's off in this scouting, because the Orioles literally have beaten us and have scored most of these runs in this series, which they have been terrible, but we'll get to that too. A lot of soft contact, a lot of just putting the ball where the fielders aren't, a lot of just fighting off pitches, a lot of just swinging at strikes. And the Yankees are not doing that. The other night, who was pitching for the Orioles? It was who had game one? Who kicked? Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, injured Grayson Rodriguez.
Every fucking at bat was throwing whatever pitch he wanted to directly over the middle of the plate. The Yankees did not swing at the first pitch once, and that he went 6 innings. You had 2 opportunities after your first at bat to pick up on the fact that Grayson Rodriguez was dropping a first pitch strike in there every single time to get ahead of the batters, and nobody on the Yankees coaching staff decided to tell that to the batters. None of the batters said, hey, we picked up on this tip. Have you noticed every count is 0-1 when you start off the at bat? So I have no idea collectively what this organization is doing, because it's either they're off with, the talent runs into the spell. We know baseball's a difficult sport. We know that, folks. We know there's going to be dry spells. We know that there's going to be slumps. For all the slumps to occur at the same time, which has, again, been an issue for 4 years, happening again, been happening for weeks. It's been masked by wins. The Yankees are winning games in spite of their offense, because the starting pitching staff has been wildly impressive so far when it shouldn't have been. So, again, happy they're the first team in the AL to 20 wins. I'm encouraged by the progress this team can make, but these issues that have, again, persisted for 4 years, they need to be fixed, and they need to be fixed now.
Yeah, I think it's fair to look at it both ways. They should not have the record that they currently have.
Correct.
But at the same time, the record, which is very impressive, and they were the first AL team to 20 wins by about an hour, because then Cleveland got Houston a little bit later in the evening. This will not continue if the heart of the order continues to go 0 for 26 in 4-game series against crucial AL East opponents. That's just true. Early in the season, when they were like 12-4, and people were like, the offense just isn't good, though. It's like, okay, well, that's, you have this random opinion. It can't be proven one way or the other, but I'm sorry you feel that way. Now we have a little bit more data, and we know that A, they've continued to win at a reasonable pace, despite being basically a 500 team since that hot start. B, their schedule hasn't gotten any easier. They did struggle with the A's, but the A's appear to be a 500 team at this moment in time, or at least playing their best baseball. They go to Milwaukee, they go to Baltimore, they go to Toronto, they get Tampa, they get they're playing the hits right now. They're not getting they played if the A's are going to be legitimately frisky and kind of competitive and took a series off the Orioles, then they played Miami, and that's it. That's the only bad team they've played so far this year, and it's May 2nd. That's crazy. The Blue Jays might be the second worst team they've played so far this year. Sure. So kudos to the New York Yankees for taking this 7-game road trip and either being 4-3 or 3-4, and either being 20-13 or 21-12. Both of those are totally acceptable records. But like you said, if this offensive ineptitude continues, and if they can't figure out that Anthony Volpe might not be a leadoff hitter now, he might be someday, probably will be someday, but he doesn't seem to be one now. He's 18 for 84 with no power and a lot of chase, 37% chase, I believe, in his last good segment of at-bats earlier this morning. Quite poor. Not a leadoff hitter at this moment in time. Would be much better in the 7-hole. If DJ LeMahieu was incompetent or can't get back or looks like a shell of himself when he returns, and Verdugo is a cleanup hitter against righties now, apparently, I'm not sure what you do in the leadoff spot either, but I don't think it's the guy who was dominant at the bottom of the lineup and immediately struggling at the top of the lineup. That's my take.
Yeah, not even that. Can't get on base. Again, 300 on base percentage in the leadoff spot. Like it's not good enough. I'm not asking him to hit 300, but if you're not making contact, it seems to me too. I don't know if you've noticed he's back to the uppercut. The swing is not leveled out like it was in the beginning of the season when he was completely raking over the first 2 weeks. And again, my concern about the offense is boom or bust. And then at that point, it comes down to timing. Okay. Is the offense going to be boom at the end of the season when the postseason's approaching, or is it going to be bust? I know we can't have our cake and eat it every time. The Yankees offense can't be perfect. The Yankees can't be, the first AL team to 20 wins. The Yankees pitching staff can't all be, it's not going to all happen at the same time, but the middle of the lineup was supposed to be a strength. This team signed Aaron Judge long-term. This team acquired Juan Soto. This team invested a lot of time and effort into having year 2 be the breakout season for Anthony Volpe. This team bet on Gleyber Torres to respond in his contract year, which he's not doing and is probably not going to do. Historically, Gleyber Torres is not that player. He's never stepped up to the occasion. When getting switched to shortstop in 2020 and being called out by Brian Cashman, he completely went into a shell and had an awful season. Then you rewind to 2022 when his name was floated at the trade deadline. He heard his name was floated at the trade deadline and then put up the worst month of baseball you've ever seen, which contributed to the Yankees nearly blowing a 15.5 game lead in the division. So you just look at all these other aspects and look, Giancarlo Stanton's still here. It's the reality. He's still swinging at sliders in the other batter's box. It's going to keep happening. Anthony Rizzo, another boomer bust. He'll go 6 for 13 and then 1 for 19. And we look at the stats and we're like, the cumulative actually looks good. You're right. It does look good. But again, the goal here is a team that has the identity and the DNA and the formula to win the postseason. And I'm not seeing it right now. And that's a big problem.
And they just grounded into their 37th double play of the year. That's the most in Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge has grounded into 10 double plays. That's
crazy. It's
unacceptable.
crazy.
Unacceptable.
That's a home run.
What?
That's a home run, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it sure is. I thought we were still up.
Jorge Mateo, home run. Nope. Mountcastle homer to tie it, and now Jorge Mateo homer to.
Sure is. I miss being at bat. You can't allow game tie-breaking home runs when you're batting. You can only hit them. Yeah, that's a bummer. 2 1-0s. 94 down the middle for Rodon after throwing 99 in the upper quartile earlier in the game. Yep. So far it's been the pitching for the Yankees has been the key to their lone win in this series. Orioles are a very good team. The offense, though, has not woken up outside of 1 inning thus far against Nestor Cortez, and it makes perfect sense that of any of the Yankees they did bludgeon Nestor Cortez, who's a particularly bad matchup for the Yankees against the Baltimore Orioles offense. Jack Curry had the quote of the night after the game wrapped and the Yankees officially won it. Entering last night's game, the Orioles batted. This is the Orioles team that's apparently the gold standard for offense. Obviously a lot of young talent. They're graduating a lot of young talent. They tank, but a lot of the talent hasn't come from the tanking. We know, we've heard the story. But entering last night, 181 average and a 228 slugging percentage against 95 mile an hour fastballs or higher. They went 1 for 14 against Heel's fastball, which averages 96.5 miles an hour. Rodon, similar situation. So far, he has allowed 2 home runs, but he is a high velocity guy as well. So is Garrett Cole. The Yankees rotation as it stacks up now, pretty decently equipped to put the Orioles into a relative slump. You're never going to shut this offense down.
No,
but
very good team.
If there is one key to unlocking a potential victory over the Orioles, it's throwing high velocity, which explains also why the Red Sox struggled with the Orioles so hard when those two teams faced off. The Red Sox have largely looked like a positive surprise this year, but Andrew Bailey's whole thing is spamming off-speed pitches. It's why Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck are what they are so far this year. It's why Boston has changed on a dime pitching wise, either that or some cheating scheme we don't know about yet, but probably the off-speed pitches. And the Orioles didn't seem to have much of a problem with them. So if you're going to beat the Orioles, you got to have guys throwing 95 plus. That's kind of just how you have to win in Major League Baseball these days. But encouraging that the Yankees have a rotation that matches up nicely with Baltimore. Discouraging that the bullpen outside of Clay Holmes is a zero in this department. Without Loaizaga, without Nick Birdy, who's apparently rehabbing right now, and we wish him well. But the Yankees already had a velocity problem out of the bullpen and a swing and miss problem. And it's exacerbated when you look at Baltimore stats against 95 plus fastballs and other pitches. If these two teams, if you want to win the World Series this year, you probably have to go through Baltimore unless you get real lucky. And that means locking horns with Corbin Burns and Kyle Bradish and scratching across enough runs to win tight games and also shutting them down with high-octane fastballs, which the Yankees have in the rotation and not in the bullpen at all. This was already going to be a trade deadline focus, but this series has proved once and for all that, hey, the starters, great. Clay Holmes, they go to him for 5 outs yesterday, and he looks fantastic. But between those two, that little sandwich, the Orioles have a unique opportunity in the 6th, 7th, 8th to make sure that the 9th is completely irrelevant in any close playoff game between these two teams.
Yeah, and the fact that the Yankees have been able to neutralize that, this is where my other concern comes from. First 3 games, you have the Orioles score 6 total runs. Math, it's an average of 2 per game.
It's not good.
On 16 hits, which is an average of 5 per game, and 7 walks. That's an average of 2 per game.
Ryan McKenna is just homered.
Yeah.
That's 3-1.
Oh, great. Okay.
There you go.
How'd you get ahead of me already?
No. It's on the app.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you have all of this kind of dialed up for you. The Orioles' main strength is their offense. It's relentless. It's tremendously athletic. They have a great bounce. That's a home run.
Sure was.
Grisham, what are you doing? That was a terrible. He had that robbed.
No, great. Well, I've just got pictures and dots, so I don't know.
Yeah, no. Watch the if you have it on. What he went to the wall. He went to jump up and he jumped backwards instead of straight up, and he could have easily taken the home run away.
Well, that's neat. Why do we play you? You fucking loser.
I don't know. Either way, Orioles offense completely has been unimpressive, and again, part of baseball. You go through these streaks and slumps. The Yankees obviously had a good pitching plan coming into this based on how, he just literally fell into the wall like an idiot. You have these pitching plans in place. The Yankees succeeded. Again, all of those offensive numbers are bad. The Yankees did worse than that. The Yankees have performed worse than 6 runs on 16 hits and 7 walks in 3 games against worse pitching. So that's where you go back to the 2017 ALCS against the Astros. You neutralize the Astros, one of the most exciting offenses in the league, for however many of those games, and the offense just doesn't do anything. And then you're looking at a heartbreaking loss because all you needed was 1 bounce to go your way. You needed a couple of other guys to make contact. You needed to just put traffic on the base paths, and you can't do it. So maybe he couldn't have had that. That's a tough grab, but he definitely did hit the wall first. I'm looking at the slow motion replay now. So yeah, I did. The offense had the opportunity right in front of them in all 3 of these games. This is the 4th game. We're through. What inning is it? It's the 4th.
Yep.
And the Yankees have 3 hits and 1 run and 1 walk. I mean, you're setting yourself up to have what? That's an average of 7 hits. Maybe 3 walks if you're lucky.
Yeah,
maybe another run. It's not good enough. So I don't. Kyle Bradish, he hasn't pitched all year. Like that, you gotta take advantage of something here, and they're not doing it. Yesterday, great win, awesome win. It really was great, but you got 3 hits. One of the home runs was from, in theory, one of your worst hitters in Oswaldo Cabrera. Your run scored was from your, defensive first catcher in Jose Trevino, and the middle of the order does absolutely nothing. So it's not a formula for winning. It's not a formula for beating better opponents. It's not a formula for getting the upper hand on your division rivals. It's just going to make it more difficult. It's going to make it an uphill battle. It's going to make us more of a laughingstock. So forgive me if I'm not thrilled by last night's win. But again, how'd we get last night's win? production from the bottom of the lineup, which is where it shouldn't be coming from, and then Aaron Boone letting the fans manage.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Boone letting after on Friday when he last Friday in Milwaukee when he said, we can't bring Clay in for that second inning. We needed to save him for what? It's extra innings. He threw 9 pitches. What does it matter? And now you're bringing him for 5 outs because all of a sudden you're desperate 5 days later. So it's just like nobody. It just again feels like nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, he really did let the fans manage. I mean, it was an important game. You got to take the third one in Baltimore. You got to bring in Clay Holmes against the top of the order in Henderson and Rutschman. But would he have done that if the Milwaukee disaster hadn't happened? I kind of doubt it.
I fully doubt it.
They would. Henderson's a lefty. They would have brought in Caleb Ferguson and been like, "Hey, cross your fingers against Rutschman, and then we'll see you in the 9th or whatever." Like all of a sudden, that game is extremely important. I mean, look, I'm going to lead with the moment we were angriest in this one, and I think we already basically touched on this because it's the heart of the order for me, obviously, but the distilled moment is Giancarlo Stanton swinging at that Jacob Webb pitch in the other batter's box. As the Knicks were also barely holding a lead at that point in time and ultimately choked Game 5, worst single game loss I can remember watching in sports at Knicks Game 5. 2001 World Series Game 7. People are saying, and I know for a Yankees podcast, Yankee fan, I should be like, oh yeah, of course it was 2001 World Series Game 7, but 1-run lead is barely a lead in baseball. You're assuming it's basically a coin flip, even with Mariano Rivera. You're like, man, really hope we hold this lead. We might not. Oh, we didn't. Yankees are also the Yankees, and the Knicks are the Knicks. At that point, the Yankees won the World Series in 1998, 1999, and 2000. So I was pretty upset that they lost the 2001 World Series. But I tell you what, I got to wipe my tears with commemorative Sports Illustrated about the previous 3 World Series championships. Like, I'm greedy. I wanted a 4th, but I'm just going to go ahead and say a 4-peat. Losing out on a 4-peat. It's close.
Yeah.
With having the chance to close out a series, being 30 seconds away from doing so and blowing a 6-point lead, which doesn't really happen in basketball. Actually never happened in the playoffs before. Check the stats. I think that was a 142nd game where a team had a 6-point lead with 28.6 seconds left and didn't have the ball. All the other ones won. Knicks did not. Knicks coming to Philly, not great. So easily the moment I was angry is because you're already mad, you're already stressed about basketball, and then you go look at the highlight. You're like, oh, Stanton struck out. Oh, Stanton actually took a child's swing. Stanton took a wiffle ball swing.
They all did.
Using a tiny plastic bat, the big fat plastic bats that don't reach all the way to get the baseball. He just takes sort of a one-handed hack with a little plastic fat thick bat. That was one of the words. Angriest isn't even the word. I was kind of just wandering into the void at that point in time, but obviously it's the encompassing offensive struggles are obviously first and foremost here. I'm not going to scream about Carlos Ron giving up a home run to Ryan McKenna, though I might later. You never know. Can't rule it out. But it's obviously the offensive side because it just felt like they were completely non-competitive in games 1, 2, and 3, and 4 so far. So they get one win, and that's kind of a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, it's the uncompetitive at bats. It's just an extension of what Stanton did. Judge went down. It looked like he had no idea what the opposing pitcher's arsenal was. Anthony Rizzo, it's just like nobody's scared. Nobody is scared against this team in crunch time, and that's really upsetting. But the moment I was angriest easily was Game 1. Nice swing, Grisham.
Why is he still playing? I get texts from people that are like, what's up with Trent Grisham? We got to get this guy out of here. And I'm like, you're angry about the 4th outfielder, but also I get it because he plays once a week and plays the worst games you've ever seen.
It's just like I don't. Again, they work Bradish's pitch count up. He's at 50 plus through 3 innings. Now he's at 70, and is it the 5th?
It's top of the 5th.
Yeah,
but he's probably not allowed to go beyond 80 pitches, but he's making the most of them.
Of course he is. Yeah, he's going to go 5. He should have went 4. They should have gotten to the bullpen early, but this team doesn't do that. Anyway, Game 1, I was pessimistic at the outset when Clark Schmidt gives up that home run to Gunnar Henderson, right? It's like, great, here we go. Fucking, of course, this is how it's going to go. Clark Schmidt has been good through the first 2 times through the order all year, and he's been having trouble the 3rd time. Now it's going to be a laser show in Baltimore after this start. Nope. He settles in 5 2/3 innings. What do the Yankees do? 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Weak contact. 3 walks, 7 hits. They score 0 runs. Judge and Soto each get a hit. again, bottom of another day where Gleyber Torres gets a multi-hit game, but nothing to show for it. Just it's the timeliness. They had the opportunities all laid up for them. They failed every single time. And again, to follow up a 36-run weekend after you bludgeoned the opponent and had confidence and had momentum, you shit the momentum right back. And it went. And then the Orioles took that win and then effortlessly won the next night, it felt like, and then were one swing away from winning last night. So yeah, game one was absolutely infuriating.
Yeah. It's just one of those games that happen like every other game these days.
Just one of those games.
You can't get too high or too low though, because you play one like great game yesterday, and you're like,
I just get too low. I wasn't even excited in Milwaukee. I was like, great, this is it. This is what it's supposed to be. Not every night, but Joe Ross hasn't pitched in 2 years. Brewers bullpen. I don't know who any of these people are. Anthony Volpe strikes out looking at a strike down the middle. I mean, I don't get it.
They almost blow that last game in Milwaukee, too, until they run away. Like when it was 11-4, it was 11-5 with the bases loaded. You could see that. You could see 11-9, but they do go ahead and win that game. Yeah, but even you can't obviously you're not going to get too high overtaking that series in Milwaukee, but you're like, all right, the offense is clicking. There it is. And then we lose Verdugo for this series. And the offense just goes to shit immediately. This is 4 for 4. No offense whatsoever. And I can't even really say, like, except for Juan Soto, because, like, he hasn't really done all that much except for the one at bat.
Rick on? Oh! Double off the wall, maybe a triple. Yeah, it looks like a triple.
For who?
Soto.
A triple for Juan Soto?
Yeah, because of the beautiful wall in Baltimore. Thanks, folks.
Yeah.
A should have been a homer, but B, Colton Cowser just got destroyed by the wall.
Colton Cowser defense left something to be desired on that one ribby single, too. The throw home, he probably could have had – it was Anthony Volpe running on a little short single on the left, and he threw it into the Orioles dugout, which is not what you want to do if you're Colton Cowser. Never get too high, never get too low, but you really can't even you can't sound reasonable doing a podcast about this team because you're like, I'm iffy on the offense, but that was a good bounce back. Let's see where they go tonight. And then they strand 9 guys and go over 12 with runners in scoring position. Then you come back and you're like, this fucking sucks. I can't believe they're doing this again. And then they win 2-0. And why won't they go to Clay Holmes for longer? Then they go to Clay Holmes for longer.
Yeah.
Like it's just the most schizoid, like very hard to have a consistent opinion on this team. And so the moment I was the happiest, even though I'm mad at Boone for like not using Holmes and using Tonkin and trying to piece things together, was realizing yesterday he probably did have to go to Clay Holmes yesterday in the 8th and 9th. He does. Big game or what? I mean, is it just us, or is Clay Holmes varying the speed on his breaker really well this year? Like the highlights yesterday wasn't just, I guess it's the slider, but it looks kind of slurvy. And he manages to get Gunnar and Adley Rutschman on slow breakers. Rutschman on a slow breaker in the zone, which I guess could have been hit for a 3-run homer to make it 3-2 O's, but he swings over the top of it. Yankees come home, take home the victory. Leadoff runner gets on in the 9th, and he goes 1-2-3. Shout out to Clay Holmes for that game. And again, securing a road trip against 2 good teams, it doesn't look abysmal at the end of the day. You're gonna finish this basically with a similar record to how you started it. And then you're going to have to get back to work at home against more good teams, because the Tigers and the Astros, who I refuse to call a bad team, are coming in. And the Yankees, all they do is play talented teams. There are no bad teams on their schedule, even for 1 second. So I'm going to give securing a much-needed win obvious happiest moment, because not a lot else made me happy in this series.
Yeah, the Soto for me shitting on Dean Kramer was awesome. It made me happy because, again, the Yankees going down with, in the most quiet way possible, to follow up that huge weekend. They needed a spark, and I don't know what the form of the spark was, but usually you have somebody talking shit, somebody doing something, inflammatory. And honestly, Soto didn't really do anything different. He did the Soto shuffle. Apparently Dean Kramer said something to him that Soto wouldn't reveal after the game. But after Soto homered off him, absolute bomb in a losing effort. So I wasn't too excited about the home run. It was more so the response. Soto stared him down through the bat and then said after the game, like, he didn't like the shuffle. He got the stare down. He probably didn't like any of it. So let's go. Again, another pitcher the Yankees should have absolutely pummeled in Dean Kramer, but they didn't. Nonetheless, I'm happy to see that there's some life from somebody in a losing effort who wants the competitive spirit to remain and foster and help motivate the team the next day. There's one guy, maybe two, if you count Alex Verdugo, but he wasn't here. So there was one guy in the locker room who wanted to stick it to the Orioles, and everybody else was just hanging out, waiting to have a good time.
Well, and that was my most surprising moment, too, while we're here, is Soto doing that, trying to set the tone, not being able to do it in that particular game. They don't score again after that, homer to center and the shuffle hate or whatever. But we said yesterday, hey, they better win the third one. It's going to be tough because it's
you have to.
Heel. It's Burns heel, but you got to win this game after that happens. And they go ahead and put on a masterclass, mostly defensively. Offensively, still waiting on the offense to show up in this series. But you got to win that one if you're going to talk smack. They almost never do.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget that Aaron Judge putting on the Birds too cold in Houston, and then they blow a 7-2 lead in the ninth or whatever that horrendous series finale was. It made us forget all about the fact that they actually won the series in Houston previously. A lot of the hate that this team gets is because they act tough, they puff out the feathers, they do put up or shut up, they troll other teams in the fourth inning and then lose in the ninth inning. So you got to stop that. Maybe Soto goes a long way towards stopping that. So the most surprising moment for me was that Soto goes ahead and does that, and the Yankees actually win the baseball game that followed it anyway. Although today looking a little bit dicey. What about you?
Thank you for that. Getting the win, because I was really nervous. I was like, great, we're going to lose tomorrow. The shit talking is going to be even more embarrassing. And
I thought sweep. I mean, I thought automatic sweep after I saw the first game. I was like, I don't like any of these pitching matchups. I don't like what the offense just did.
Yeah.
You can't limit. I mean, I didn't know it was going to come from the Orioles offense in games 2 and 3, but I watched the first one. I'm like, you can't. I would be angrier about this if the playoffs weren't going on in other crucial sports, but you can't limit the Orioles offense to what you limited them to and be down 1-0 on the first batter of the game, put all those guys on base, never score, give up a second run on an error, and just, again, never let a run cross the plate in a game where you basically – it's like the Knicks in Game 5. I hate to stop doing this, but Joel Embiid was terrible in that game. 7 for 19 with all these turnovers, and you don't win that game. That's bad. It's going to be really hard to recover from that. And that's how Game 1 of this series felt. It's like this vaunted Orioles offense doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
they score on a leadoff homer and an error late. Clay Holmes comes into that game too for some reason, and you don't. Not only do you not win, but there's not a single threat that you're able to cash in any of the runners you put on the board.
Yeah, and it's like, we understand it's not linear. It's not always going to go your way, but there is no semblance of anything, and that's the problem. Most surprising moment for me, shocking to me that I am learning for like in full right now, full throttle. We want to elicit some Red Sox vibes here. This fan base is all bandwagoners. You see it with every argument online. Look, go back to Monday. In theory, I don't give a shit because it didn't happen. I didn't mention nothing about the Orioles wall. Oswaldo Cabrera's ninth inning flyout was 395 feet at the wall. Should have been a home run in old Camden Yards before they made the wall renovations.
Would have been.
Yeah. Would have been. Sorry. It absolutely would have been. It would have been it would have been a home run in 6 other ballparks. Again, a stat I don't fucking care about. I see the
No, who cares? We're not playing in these other ballparks, but people love to say that. So
of course. But nice swing, Rizzo. That was great.
I assume 3-run homer.
No, a weak swing at a strike in attempt to protect the plate, pop out to the middle infield.
Oh, that's
after staring at a strike on the outside corner that was a perfect pitch to hit, and then whining about it because the umpire called it a strike.
Oh, that's weird. I expected better from this absolute dog shit offense. That's a shame.
Yankees fans online, some of you guys you got to grow up. We're not complaining about the Orioles being losers for moving the wall back 2-3 years ago, however long it was, but nonetheless, somebody did that. And then Orioles fans all band together and talk about, they're refusing to acknowledge the fact that the Orioles indeed moved the wall back because they were disadvantaged because they decided to undergo a rebuild and lost 100+ games for, 4 years and had a sub-5. If it wasn't for 2020, it would have been a longer streak. But they lose 100+ for 3 years and 2020 interrupted. Either way, it was a really long time to be losing 100+ games.
I think they lost 100+ in 2022. In a 60-game season, they somehow they only played 60 games and they went 2-124, which is weird.
The excuse making from Orioles fans, instead of just laughing and being like, "Ha, we made a stadium renovation and you guys can't wrap your head around it and your brains are breaking. This is pathetic.
Yeah.
The Orioles fans are talking about how, the move wasn't to help their roster out. That was, the pitching. They hadn't had pitching in I don't even know how long. They still really don't have pitching. It wasn't a move to help out their pitching because they're playing 80 plus games in there. And really at that point also didn't have a good offense. It was only recently the offense started to come around in the last couple of years. And then to some brilliant Orioles fan went back to look up the history of Yankee Stadium's dimensions. A stadium that was built in 1923 and then found out in 1974 the Yankees moved center field in because it was a 490-foot to dead center, and they moved the sides back. So apparently that was an attempt to help them out against other opponents as opposed to just make the stadium more symmetrical because we had been playing baseball for 90 years at that point and realized, I think we know how a stadium's supposed to look at this point. Not sure why this was constructed like that the first time. On the other hand, Orioles Park, Camden Yards has been in existence since 1992. The dimensions should have been set in stone when they made it then. And they clearly did this because they were the second most hitter-friendly park outside of Coors Field. And then, of course, every time a fly ball went out to left field after that, there was some snarky remark from Orioles fans. But you don't know how to argue because you're not really a fan and you have not been in the discussion of a contending team for a long time. Haven't won a World Series since 1983. The other aspect of it is The Athletic wrote an article saying, Camden Yards is no longer Yankee Stadium South because Orioles fans are returning because the Orioles are now surging. And it's like, is this an article that this literally tells you the fans are bandwagoners? It tells you they're coming to the park when their team is actually winning. And you look at the attendance numbers, and they're among the worst in the league. Even currently, they're 14th in the league right now in attendance. I know they're a small city, but the fact that they've had awful attendance and have ranked near the bottom of the league with Oakland and Miami and Pittsburgh and Kansas City and all these other, lackluster franchises. Now, finally, you don't have Yankee fans overtaking your stadium in a random year. I have all the information I need to know at this point. I don't want to argue with these people anymore. I don't even want to see these people anymore.
No. Again, it's great to have our first series of the year be 4 games at Camden Yards. It really brings out the best in everybody. You got to immediately run in all this very advantage Orioles, first of all, and second, no Verdugo, and third, you got to run in all this discourse right away, headlong. Not to do an entire segment called "This Viral Tweet is Really Dumb," but that viral tweet about, the Yankees moved their dimensions was really dumb. One of the dumbest tweets.
50 years ago.
And the tweet, the presupposition of the tweet was like, it looks like the Yankees changed the dimensions of their stadium to cater to their team's offense. Interesting. And in the tweet, it showed them moving the short porch further back.
Yeah.
So what do you want from me? They moved the short porch back 18 feet. That's catering to the offense. I mean, they moved center field in from 495 feet. Yeah. Okay. Imagine if the Polo Grounds used to have a 490-foot center field. We used to do that in the 40s, and now we don't. What a brilliant viral tweet. What I can't believe or stand is that the Orioles fans just can't acknowledge the reality here. And there's also the obvious, inability to look objectively at this. When they come to the short porch, the hypocrisy, they're like, I can't believe the Yankees only hit home runs because of the short porch. This porch is ridiculous. And we're like, all right, well, both teams have the porch. If you want to use it, you can. And they're like, well, the Yankees only have wimpy home runs over the wimpy little porch. And then when we go to Baltimore and we're like, well, that would have been a home run 3 years ago. They're like, and both sides get to use the wall, actually. It's like, no, that's what we say. That's what we say when you complain about the porch. It's true. Both sides get to use the porch. Both sides get to use the wall. But only one of them was a deliberate reconstruction midstream because you realized, hey, we're not signing any elite pitchers and we haven't developed any elite pitchers in a while. And you know what might help if we move the wall back 35 feet? And it's not quite a both teams get to take advantage of this situation because the short porch is easy to take advantage of. Sometimes you get tempted by it as a visiting player and you try to porch it and you can't and you mess up your swing a little bit. That happens. That could happen. But that's just a little gift for everybody. It's like if you want to go to right field or if you've got hitters who like to go to right field, well, guess what? Ball travels really well there and it might be a homer. Like the gap's not quite so much. Yankee Stadium does not play as like this offensive powerhouse stadium.
No, not at all.
Specifically the porch, yeah, for sure. If you like to use the porch, that's a present for you. Yankees can use it. Orioles or any visiting team can use it as well. The idea that it's the preposterous idea that this giant left field wall is supposed to be used equally by both teams. Sure, pitchers might get a break every once in a while. You might give up a long fly ball to left that stays in the ballpark. But the Orioles play their 81 games a year. They've built a roster intended to take advantage of that gigantic left field wall. They got mostly starters who hit the ball out to right and right center. They've got speedsters. They've got outfielders who can cover the ground. They built a roster to take advantage of the wall that they brought out deeper. They did that. The Yankees are supposed to build a roster that takes advantage of the Orioles wall because they play there 7 times a year. That's what all of these debates ultimately come down to. So just acknowledge that you did it to give your team an advantage. And it worked. It also happened to coincide with an influx of talent in the Orioles lineup. Both are true. Orioles lineup got better immediately. All the prospects arrived right when they moved the wall back. But it was deliberate. It was a midstream change. And it wasn't like the Mets looking at Citi Field year one being like, so we built a ballpark where nobody homers. That was a weird call.
Whoops.
Let's move that fence in. This was the Orioles going, is there anything we can do to improve our chances? Why don't we take the agency that we're given here and do something to improve our... So the Red Sox have Fenway Park. The Red Sox signed players who played at Fenway Park. The Yankees have the short porch. The Yankees signed players who played at the short porch, or at least they should. They forgot to for a couple of years, but they should. Both of those things are advantages. Yankees can take advantage of it. Red Sox can take advantage of their stupid ballpark. So can their opponents. But for Orioles fans to act like theirs, which they changed midstream after Camden Yards was already an established ballpark, you didn't have this, you moved the wall back 35 feet, is just, that's baseball. Hey, it's for you, it's for me. The big wall is for everybody. Like, no, you did this so that you could have your green monster and you can tailor your lineup and pitching staff towards taking advantage of it. That's smart baseball, but it's denial that it has, that anything and roster construction has anything to do with the fact that they're benefiting from this wall. And they are. You look at their home record before and after. And again, talent influx. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but they've immediately gone from a terrible home team to a great home team. And I guess that's what the bandwagon fans want to see.
Yeah. Gleyber Torres, again, I mean, I just can't stand watching this guy. So I don't know how he doesn't make that play. It's absolutely just never there. Never there mentally. 0 home runs in his last 53 games. Like, what is the point of this guy? Why did the Yankees bet on this player to have a massive contract year for them in a World Series or bust season?
I mean, what did I just see from Gleyber Torres? Like, literally, what did I just see?
I'm going to rewind it to watch it, actually.
He's like barehanding a flip to second base. I mean, this is fucking unconscionable.
Let me say, yeah. He's not on this planet. Never really is. He costs, and you know what's funny? He only has 4 errors on the year. Think about all the misplays he's made. He's got to have close to like 10 instances that have cost the Yankees runs. And I don't understand how it keeps happening. Verdugo out there fumbling the ball in left field too on that one play. It's like this will be the inning that breaks their back. Runners on first and second, nobody out. Rodon's getting completely overmatched and labored right now. So yeah.
Well, this game's over, but we had a fun.
Where are we at?
6-1. It's a triple.
And it's so easy to spot. Like, Rodon is just like not engaged anymore. He gave up a couple of runs and made a few, or at least I think the Orioles probably made better swings than he made mistakes. And he's just giving up, heads down, pouting after every pitch. Nestor does the same shit. Here comes Aaron Boone. It's just like the energy on this team is just awful.
Let's do 7 innings of Luke Weaver.
Yeah, let's do it. There you go, Boone. What else? What do we got? Oh, a moment we might have missed. What did we miss here? What did we miss? I don't know. during this boring series.
I mean, I think we're good. Like, I think we did this,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
we did the podcast. I don't really, they pissed away this series live on air. They're gonna come back as soon as we turn this podcast off.
Imagine.
No, absolutely. I mean, this game's over. The series is over. They took the one that they had to, I guess, but it is a bummer that our expectations are that low. They're going to Baltimore. Like, these are the top 2 teams in the AL East. And I'm like, don't get swept. Nope. And then they didn't get swept. And I was like, nice.
But it was the next worst thing. It was just it was a step barely above getting swept.
Yeah. They didn't get swept and they won one game where they scored 2 runs. And I'm like, all right, nice. Took care of business. Like, that's my low expectations for the New York Yankees right now. And moving forward, and the Boston Red Sox never lose, featuring a lineup that if they were in the New York Yankees uniforms would be 7-24 right now. But for whatever reason, the Boston Red Sox never lose. So if we were not in the midst of the NHL and NBA playoffs, I'd be losing my mind about this bullshit. But I've seen worse in other sports. So now I'm just like, oh, the Yankees, that's nice. I remember when they used to be good. Instead, they're okay now. Not great though. Oh, well.
Orioles fans, shape up. Well, you'll get your 3 wins. It'll feel good, but just learn how to argue.
Well, and then when you come to New York and we hit a home run over the short porch and you say, oh, my God, unbelievable, then you should tweet that photo of the Yankee Stadium dimensions changing in 1962 or whatever. And then you should say to yourself, is 1962 2021? Are those the same year? Did the 2 teams change their stadiums in the same year? I forget. Is that a valid argument, or should I maybe reassess? Or should I just enjoy my really good young team instead of picking a fight with? That's the other fun thing. Like, Yankee fans will not shut up about this wall. No, a Yankee fan account with 3,200 followers made a tweet you didn't like. What are you talking about? Why are you occupying yourself with that? The rest of the series go, I sure hope Bronx Boomers had a bad time today. Who is that? Why do you care? That sure did show, Dom, that guy with 1,300 followers. Yeah, I've been thinking about him for 3 straight days. I hope he's mad now. Okay, that's how you want to go through life. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What do they have? What do we have here? Or neutralize Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, and just can't do it. I don't get it.
No, maybe you should have split this. Should have split it.
Yeah, you had all the momentum going in today. You had the pitching matchup advantage. Like, again, Bradish hasn't pitched all year. Carlos Rodon's been pitching better. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Team is underwhelming, and they're not fun.
And Gleyber Torres is the worst defender in baseball.
Yep.
Just an offensive player. Like, worst.
Terrible everything. Yeah. But, well, we touch on that because we won't be able to talk about it next week. He told The Athletic last week that free agency is not on his mind. He has no thought about it. Yeah. No thought about it, even though, again, this is the same guy who has crumbled multiple times because of off-field things that somebody said or, rumors or reports or whatever. And now he who came into the season, Verdugo, you want to get up, dude? Runners on third, he dives for a fly ball, and then he just lays there. Tags up 7-1. Guy who said in the offseason that he wanted to be, essentially a Yankee for life, wanted to spend his time, at least his foreseeable future, in the Bronx after 2024. You're going to tell me that the fact that the Yankees didn't discuss a contract extension with him, have not prioritized him in years, have actually disrespected him more times than not, over since 2020, you're going to tell me that's not affecting him mentally? He just
didn't really want him, and you wonder why. Yeah, you wonder why, because
of course you wonder why.
Are they going to win this game? Like, are they going to win this game if Gleyber Torres doesn't drop that double play ball? Almost definitely no, they are not. But also, just join Earth. Rejoin Earth. It's not hard. If you are simply on Earth, you're having a slightly better season. The errors are, and they don't always come at the worst time, as in they determine the outcome of a game, but they always come in the worst time, as in they're in the worst games, as in when Yankee fans are already upset, they see you make an error like that. That is, like Joel Sherman said, fantasy camp Gleyber Torres, whatever he called it a couple weeks ago. You got a double play ball there. At worst, you got an out at second. Bare hand. That's what we're trying to do. Secure the ball, man. I got to commit 8 years and $200 million to you after this season.
Remember the people giving Gleyber Torres an extension next offseason?
I mean, he is absolutely going to hit 315 with 18 homers for the 2024 Mets.
Oh, sure, yeah.
2025 Mets. Sorry. 2024 would be nice, though. You could pull off a little trade with the Mets this week.
They'll figure something out. They'll figure something out if he's doing this into June. He'll be gone.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think he will be as well. And I think Juan Soto will be. I can't do Juan Soto after the season takes at this point in time.
But that's the other thing about Juan Soto. Like, it's like, how is this convincing him to want to stay? Everybody around you is a fucking limp.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he loves it here. That'd be awesome. But, like, in terms of watching your teammates respond to adversity on the field and pump up each other, it's not there. He's the only one doing it.
It's interesting because after last season, they needed an overhaul, and we're getting into all this now, but after last season, they needed an overhaul, and they bring in Soto and Verdugo, and both of those guys are doing their part, and Soto is the best offensive player in the American League, except maybe Tyler O'Neill, and Verdugo's been sort of a game changer, right? So everyone on Twitter is always saying, this is just the 2023 offense plus Verdugo and Soto. It quite literally is. Like, they brought in two guys to make changes. Those guys have made changes. Those guys are part of the reason why they have the record they have right now instead of a much worse record. But it has to be only the start of the makeover. Aaron Judge isn't going anywhere, but Rizzo is. Stanton is. Volpe has to be a better baseball player. DJ LeMahieu's not going to be here for very much longer, at least not as a starter, maybe a fifth infielder or whatnot. It is literally last year's offense plus those two guys, and they are literally a bit better than last year. Mm-hmm. So what has to happen now is Soto stays, Verdugo probably doesn't, but gets replaced by an equivalent player. Two more guys come in, Rizzo goes, Stanton goes, and then we start really making some change. And then next year you can say, wow, it's like the 2023 offense plus Soto, plus other guy, minus Stanton, minus Rizzo. Like, that's what we have to see. We have to take incremental steps. We were never going to year over year go from dreck offense to unbelievable offense, but hopefully we could get to competent offense and great pitching staff and win in the World Series, win in the playoffs, win in October, look different, make a surprising World Series run, etc. But so far, you're going to need Soto to buy in for an additional year if you're going to put that plan in action. And I still think odds are higher he stays than goes. Not sure who's poaching him, unless it's the Mets. I think the Yankees would be deranged to just lowball him by $300 million. And I don't think you trade for him if you plan on doing that. I can't say for certain, but I would still be very surprised if they don't make the most competitive offer, or at least in the ballpark with the most competitive offer. I would be surprised if they don't own the tiebreaker right now, but I guess the rest of the season could go very poorly, and I guess that could change. But as of now, saying that it's the 2023 offense plus two guys we brought in to change the offense, and also the team's better than last year, like by a similar, the offense isn't perfect, but it got better.
Yeah.
The team isn't perfect, but it got better. And I don't think they lowball Judge, and then what happened? Hal Steinbrenner stepped in and changed everything. So what's going to happen?
Judge is a different player than Soto. Soto's 25 years old. Judge was an injury prone, still is. Like, he's probably hurt right now. He missed 60 games last year. Like, he was an injury prone player heading into his age 31 season. That's a player that I still don't agree with what the Yankees did, but if you're a business person, that's the candidate you're going to try to lowball, because he's going to miss at least 30 games a year.
And he's going to come back. He's going to come back, and he did.
Yeah. And he responded in the best way possible. So that was amazing to see. But Soto, they are in no position. The Yankees are frustratingly, they think they know better. They're to me a little bit frustratingly arrogant. I don't think they're that bad. They're going to know that they have to pay Juan Soto, and there's no beating around the bush there.
Yeah, I believe so. We'll find out. We'll find out for sure. And I don't want to be talking about that in May. I would like to be talking about the on-field action. But the on-field action today, putrid. Carlos Rodon got out of bases loaded, no outs with 98, 99 mile-an-hour fastballs. And it was like, okay, are we rolling? No, we're not. They're down 7-1. It is what it is. But it is crazy that we're again used to this. It's a May series. It's an April-May series. It's not determinative. They're leaving it down 3-1 in the season series to the Orioles. But would anybody walk into the series thinking they were going to do any better than split it? I don't think so.
No way.
I even saw the comments at our last live show that were like, split this with the O's. And I was like, I appreciate that everyone's being kind of reasonable here. No one's like, sweep the O's. Take this series. Show them who's boss. Everyone's like, let's split with the O's.
No, let's do something with the O's.
Let's split with the O's. That'd be nice. And then they lose the first two. I'm like, they're going to get swept. And they win yesterday. And I'm like, they're not going to get swept. And then I'm leaving it being like, you know what? Is what it is. Didn't get swept. Got to win. Got to win in the 4-game road series to start the year. That's always nice, too. Let's disadvantage the Yankees in the season series.
Labor homer. That's funny.
That didn't happen. That's not.
Sure did. 7-2. After he stared at 2 strikes right over the plate. So good for him. Maybe that's the first home run in this is 54th game.
Podcast listener, you think? Do you think he's live streaming right now?
he's got an earbud. He's got his AirPods in, streaming us from the. There's just enough distance.
Gleyber Torres homers to center field too, which would have been a home run in left field. Also,
wow, hear that?
Isn't that interesting? If he'd hit it to left field, that would have gone out too. Really helping the Yankees there. Hey, maybe next year when we're in, I don't remember when we're in Baltimore next. Obviously, we got to go one more time this season. Maybe we should retool the offense entirely around the Orioles ballpark. Do we have enough time?
Yeah, we should.
Do we have enough time to get that together? Call
at Baltimore right before the All-Star break.
Yeah. Do we have enough time before the All-Star break to call up a bunch of speedy guys who slap the ball to right field and can also run around in the corner out there a little bit? Like, should we have traded Giancarlo Stanton before the O's series? Like, is that what Orioles fans want? I don't know. I can't help you here. Just enjoy your wins. You're doing great.
Enjoy them. That's it.
Right? That's it. Yeah, no, I think that's it. I mean, again, 7-2 comeback starts now. So hopefully the comeback continues when we're off the podcast. We appreciate everybody joining us. Again, not to be too downtrodden. I think the basketball certainly changed the way I approach this baseball. Can't lie to you folks. But they're going to lose the series 3-1. They won 1. That's neat. Let's get back on track. Coming home against 2 more good teams. It's relentless. It never ends. They don't
maybe
get
a rally. Verdugo walked.
Well, again, comeback starts now. We never get any off days for whatever reason. We don't have one this weekend either. Why don't you win the games on your schedule in front of you? We finally get a day off next week, I feel like, right? Thursday?
Yeah. Wait, who are we playing this weekend?
Tigers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tigers and then, yeah.
Yeah. Do we get a day off on Monday? We get a day off on Monday. Oh, my God.
That's huge.
Oh, thank God. That's huge. 7:05, 7:05, 5:05 for the 3 Astros games. So if you're planning on yelling "fuck Altuve" before he immediately homers on the first pitch of the game, get in the gates early on Thursday. Get that start time. If you're planning on absolutely ruining a game yourself from the bleachers, get in there early on Thursday. Make sure to let your voice get heard. The first guy in the gates on Thursday for the 5:05 game. Hey, I came up with a new chant. How about "fuck Altuve"? Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Uncork that one. Take it out of the folder. Can't wait to see how that one works out. Astros are like 10-20, and they're going to come in and play like the Houston Astros at Yankee Stadium because that's what they do. It's up to the New York Yankees to pitch like the New York Yankees. The 2023 Yankees had a pretty okay series at home against Houston. This will be it for the Yankees in Houston.
Another double play.
Oh, another double was a nice thing to hear. Another double was a nice thing to hear.
Another double play, weak grounder. It's good. It's a good team.
Yanks. Comeback starts now, actually. I'm Adam Weiner. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weiner. Thomas Carinante. Where can the people find you?
I am at Tommy's_takes. We are at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Have some fun talking to us. We're in a great mood. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there for you. We're doing everything. We're staying up to date. We got you covered. And until then, we'll talk to you on Monday. Have yourselves a good weekend. We'll have an off day then, so we won't have to cover the game live on the podcast and be angry about it. You got to beat the Tigers. That's where I'll leave it.
You got to win some games. I don't think they give out World Series for first team to 20 wins. So I've seen more than I expected so far. Not the record I expected at the end of April. Not the record I expected in early May, especially not with this schedule. 20-13, not awful. Team's performance, pretty awful. So perform a little bit better. Maybe we'll see things improve. Don't perform any better, go down the tubes a little bit. We'll continue to see some negative momentum. 500 will feel like a pipe dream. But hey, New York sports, wake up. Big weekend for you. Can't afford any more of this stuff. Might just not watch. Come on, New York. Wake up, New York City. Wake up. We need you. New York Rangers, congrats. New York Rangers, congrats on sweeping. You've advanced out of the first round. I actually don't know if I expected that to be quite so easy. Especially, kudos where credit where credit's due. New York sports a big old bummer. New York sports a thick, fat, wet bummer. That was nice. So we'll see you Rangers in the second round. Knicks, best of luck to you. Trust in Jalen Brunson. It's not your fault that your jerseys say Knicks and you had to do what you did in Game 5, but I love everybody on that team. Good luck to the New York Knicks. Good luck to the New York Yankees. No more double plays, guys. Stop it. We'll see you after the weekend. Take care.